What's up guys, welcome back for another DevPro Duel video. 200 DevPro videos, pretty cool. So I decided to do something special. I mean, it's again a special occasion, 200 DevPro videos, so why not? And I was looking for something like an FTK that I didn't review yet in my videos. And this was one of them. The Gishki, one of the Gishki FTK decks, or OTK decks. In this game's history. Gishkis as an archetype never were relevant, or there wasn't really a tier 1 Gishki deck like Nekroz or Glyphort, for example. Gishki always found a way in some kind of OTK / FTK engine or deck. For example, the heretic Gishki deck with, what's it called, Gust Kraken, to loop your opponent's hand was one of them. And to my mind, another way to run Gishkis in some kind of an FTK deck was this. It was the Mind Augus FTK. Since when Mind Augus is summoned to the field, you can send up, I think, up to 3 or 4 cards, or maybe 5, I'm not really sure about the amount. It was pretty much a pot of avarice. You can choose up to that amount of cards from your grave and send them back to the deck. So what you want to do here is to pretty much deck out your opponent, together with 1 Day of Peace and hand destruction, as you will see it in the video. The deck itself, I mean, I think this version of an FTK with Gishkis was one of the most consistent FTK decks in this game's history. I think it was relevant somewhere in 2012. It should be around that, the Dino Rabbit format. Let's see some duels. Okay, so I get to start, and this was very crucial. This is pretty much a ritual matchup. My opponent is playing the Nekroz deck, 2014, 2015 before the Banlist, so Nekroz at full force. But I won the die roll. It was a rock, paper, scissors game, so I get to start. So what's the point of the deck? The point of the deck is to draw all the cards in your deck, and you pretty much, thanks to your Gishki engine, thanks to the trade-ins, thanks to Mirror of Greed, Hand Destruction, and that one Royal Magical Library, again, library. It's a card that's always involved in some kind of FTK deck. You draw every card in your deck with 1 Day of Peace, with everything. So eventually you have used up all of your 1 days, and thanks to your Gishki mirrors, which can Gishki mirror, when it's in your grave, you can send back to the deck and take back 1 Gishki ritual monster back from the grave to your hand. So this way, pretty much your trade-ins are always live, and thanks to salvage, you can reuse your Gishki monsters. Again, search the Aqua mirror, use it as a discard for magical stone excavation or hand destruction. So those cards aren't really minuses. And again, I think I only have I'm deck out. So what you want to do now is ritual summon your Mind Augus. So now I can send back, I think, up to 5 cards indeed from my cave and send them back to the deck. So what you want to do is always target 3 1 Day of Peace, and if you want, either a salvage or a hand destruction, for example. And eventually, because you're running a lot of draw cards, you can again draw those, and because of 1 Day of Peace, your opponent also has to draw 1 card. And because you are looping this, every time you are looping your 1 Day of Peace, your opponent needs to draw a card. Draw a card every time you activate a 1 Day. So eventually they also deck out, or at least you'll leave them with no cards in their deck, and you will just end your turn and they will lose because of it. So now it's just a matter of time. The deck is super consistent. I think a card like Effect Failure can hinder the deck. It's not an instant loss. I mean, Royal Magical Library is definitely not a key card for the deck. Library makes your FTK much more easy, but it's definitely not an instant stop to the deck. Something like maybe an Effect Failure on the Mind Augus. Then again, you can just again go for a ritual summon, use the Mind Augus on board for the second Mind Augus in hand. So Effect Failure is not an instant out for the deck. you need something like a double or 3 DD Crows. So only 7 cards in a deck. Again, go for the Mind Augus. Send back those 3 One Day of Peace, either also the Salvage. It's up to you, since you can just reuse your Gishkis as an engine, search your Gishki mirrors from the deck, and eventually your opponent again will end up at 0 cards in the deck. Again, it's pretty much the same. We know it already. I remember back then when this deck was relevant, the opponent like, what are you doing? Is it an Exodia deck? The opponent really didn't know what was going on, since you're just drawing cards, and eventually you don't have any cards in your deck, so your opponent is expecting something like an Exodia, but it's definitely it's not something like an Exodia, so they don't know what's going on, and eventually they again end up with 0 cards in a deck, and that's a game over. You just end your turn. Now he gets to start, and pretty much the one weakness of this deck, if I'm playing against full force Nekroz, is of course the Chinlock. I mean, and he also goes for Dweller, sets the MST, but in this main deck I have no outs for the Chinlock. I can't special summon, and this Dweller is also on board, so I can just scoop. But now I can get to start, so if I don't brick, if I don't draw that with the deck, I'm not going to lose this one. So it's pretty much the same. Again, draw your deck, thin your deck, draw your engine, eventually use those Aqua Mirrors for a discard cost, for Magical Stone Excavation, for card destruction. Eventually again you will draw into your Royal Magical Library. This was also one of the reasons why Mind Augus was limited to 1, and I still think it's limited to 1, just like a Gust Kraken. One Day of Peace is also limited to 1, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the TCG. Also very for this deck, I mean, your first turn took like 30 or 40 minutes. This was also one of the things why this deck needed to get banned or get dealt with by Konami. Players taking up like 30 minutes to make these moves, to make their first turn, and eventually FTK their opponent, and siding in stuff like Burn again for game 2, because it was pretty much time, 40 minutes. This was definitely one of the reasons why this deck had to be dealt with the ban list. I think it was only relevant for like 1 month or 2 months, but anyway, so I didn't brick. Again, I get my engine going, so send those One Day of Peace back to the deck together with 1 salvage either, or 1 hand destruction. But this was pretty much degeneracy at its finest. I mean, bullcrap at its finest. So I can't really say it's a good game, because it wasn't. But anyway, so this is the Gishki FTK deck, one of the Gishki FTK decks in this game's history, the Mind Augus FTK. So guys, thanks for watching, thanks for the 200 videos. I hope it was informative. So if you have any suggestions for the upcoming videos, decks, or things I have to test out, archetypes, you can definitely leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. I'm signing out. Peace.